Our community is filled with hundreds of stories from creators and entrepreneurs just like you. And through the Plutus Awards podcast, we plan to share these stories from bloggers to podcasters, writers, speakers, and more. So let's meet today's guest.
Hey y'all, my name is Stephen Hughes. I'm the founder of Know Money, and that's KNOW. We teach college students how to think and talk about money differently. I started Know Money in 2014, so this is year 5 for us. Know Money is turning into a bigger kid. And I started Know Money because I made every financial mistake possible when I was in college, and I had nowhere to turn to as far as who could explain personal finance to me in a way that I could get it and take action to make some specific steps to better my financial situation. And I knew that there were money questions going over a lot of my peers' heads at the time. And so I started Know Money to really break things down and deliver personal finance the same way that I learn it, whether it's through music, books, blogs, podcasts, bite-sized information that I can digest and really make sure that I can take action.
Yeah, I'm joined today with Stephen Hughes in the very hot East Coast of the United States over there. We were just talking about why I don't go visit there because I can't take the humidity you guys got going on over there.
Yeah, if you can't take the heat, stay in California.
That's what I'm going to do. But then you know what? I can't afford to live here, so I may just have to join you anyways. And so
we have great low cost of living here on the down south East Coast.
Oh, you may be persuading me to come over there. That's what's really eating me up over here. But you know, something else that may make me head over to the East Coast is the Bankroll Summit, which is this really cool project that you put together with a team of people over there. And from when we were talking before this all started, before we started recording here, you let me know that you partnered with 5 historical Black colleges and universities to kind of start this off as the inaugural, the first year of the Bankroll Summit. So before we jump into what this is all about, how many people actually swung by and attended the summit?
Yeah, so the summit had just under 150 people register, and it was from 8 different schools. So we had the 5 partnering schools, the 5 HBCUs that I mentioned, but then we also had students who attended from 2 tech schools and another university close by, University of South Carolina.
Oh, nice. That's a good turnout, especially for the very first year.
My goal was to have more than 100, and I just kept pushing the 150 number. The registration started to pour in, and it was an event that I couldn't have asked for a better kickoff.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to start everything off. And so what is the Bankroll Summit? What was the purpose of this event that you put together?
When I started Know Money in 2014, it's really out of a frustration because I was making mistake after mistake when I was in college. When I first went to college in 2005, that's when I got my first credit card. And as financial situations started to pop up, then my financial foundation just started to get worse and worse, whether it was 7 maxed out credit cards or overdraft fees to the point that closed my accounts, or the 2 repossessions that I had, or getting evicted, or having a credit score of sub 400. I just knew that college students don't have the best information or resources when it comes to personal finance. And I really wanted to focus on Black college students because they're the most underserved population in college when it comes to personal finance and financial resources. So we set out to partner with the HBCUs and really make sure that students had tools and resources and actionable steps that they could take to help increase their money, but also break up with broke, like to not have being broke part of the average college experience. Is something that, students can just kick to the side and not have to worry about experiencing.
No, I like that. That was one of the catchphrases you used for the summit, right? Break up with broke.
Yeah, break up with broke was our hashtag.
That's a good motto to live your life by, right there.
Straight up, like either in college or after college, I'm done with it.
I'm assuming this was a lot of work based off of the initial size of this event, something brand new to have that many people attend, the partnership with the colleges. So why would you decide to take on something that is definitely going to increase the workload for you on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think that this was just time to do it. Like I've been wanting to do a conference or a summit since I started Know Money. This was just the year that I had, I guess, a little bit more financial resources and time as a resource to focus on it. And then also, I was telling you before, we have a creative director that we use. She's been our strategist for all of our branding for our nonprofit. Her name's Jessica Boyd. She was pretty much the quarterback of the whole summit. So, just telling her what I wanted and giving her the ideas of like how I wanted to really relate to the college students. And she just kind of ran with everything. And even when it comes down to the logo and the colors and bringing in a spatial planner, I didn't even know you needed that when it came to.
I didn't even know that was the thing.
Yeah. So the spatial planner, because of the venue that we got was a very open space. The spatial planner came in and kind of mapped out where all the tables went, where the food was going to be, where the picture taking was going to happen, like just all these different things. And then she also kind of helped Jessica navigate where design elements needed to be. And so I don't know if you saw our recap video, but there were banners hanging up from the walls. There were 10-foot pop-ups and just stuff everywhere. And as far as like the marketing and the branding of the event. But I think that when the college students walked in and they heard that hip hop music drop, then they knew it was a different experience. So the work was something that just needed to be done because I didn't know when I was going to do it if I didn't do it this year. And we started planning for it in December, and the summit took place in April. So we really wanted to make sure it was something that we kicked off Financial Literacy Month with. People were telling me that I was crazy because it was an event that usually takes a year to plan, and we did it in 3 months. But I had the right people to help me. That was the big thing. The creative director was the biggest thing. Like she took the most load off of my shoulders and really helped me stay on track when it came to looking for the right sponsorships and partnerships and getting to the finish line.
Yeah, from what I've seen talking to different people, it feels like having the support around you and the right team members around you makes all the difference because I think everyone brings a different skill to the situation, a different set of connections and know-how. How did you go about getting these team members or finding these people to partner with to help you accomplish this big event that you put on?
Yeah, well, the creative director, that was easy because she's been with us from the beginning. I also worked with a young lady from a local foundation who kind of gave me the lay of the land on how we could offer a scholarship because I really wanted to make sure, even though it was the first year that we gave away some money, she like broke down the scholarship criteria for the students. She helped me create the application. She was amazing in that regard. And then, of course, the spatial planner that I told you about. But really, outside of those few people, all of the people that I worked with were people that I'd worked with in the past, just on a smaller scale. And so I knew that if it was something that was going to be this big that I needed to come to life, it needed to be people that I could trust. And I'd seen the work that the spatial planner had done in the past because Jessica had worked with her in the past on an event of hers. And so everyone had my trust, because I'd already seen the work. The experience was there. And so it took some of the stress out of it. Just knowing that people were going to deliver it because they had the vision. They knew they wanted it to be accomplished as much as you wanted to really pull it off. And so that was real helpful.
I think that's huge because I know one of the things that the Plutus Awards wants to encourage is community and collaborating and working together and kind of building each other up. If you don't take time to do those things, I think it's going to make it difficult when it comes to saying you need these other people to be part of your team because you may not have that experience working with others in these different capacities. And then now all of a sudden you want to try to build these relationships on a tight deadline and it could be hard, or maybe you find people you're not compatible with and you don't find that out till it's too late. So I think it's really cool that you've already had time working with these people, building relationships. So you know what you're getting, you know their work ethic, you know what they're capable of, and you know who you can add on and what will build that team for you.
Yeah, and I'm not naive to think that that's how it always works out or that this is how the first event usually goes. But that's one thing that I didn't have to worry about. Like I didn't really have to worry about the team because of all the experience that I'd already had with them. But, the summit takes so many other things like financial resources and the venue, and you've different expenses popping up at the end. So that's always fun. But, getting over those hurdles were easier because I didn't have to worry about, the people that I was working with.
Speaking of the Bankroll Summit and getting it started, how did you know what it would take to get this thing off the ground? Like, what was your first step when you're like, okay, I know I want to do this? What was like one of the first things you did to kind of get everything in motion?
The big thing to get everything in motion was to find a venue. Our creative director had stressed to us that it wasn't a good idea to announce until we secured the venue. Once we secured the venue, things started to become a little more real. So I got the venue. We secured all of the social media handles, of course. So I guess that might have been the first thing. Really figuring out what the name of the summit was going to be and securing all the social media handles. So that was the first thing.
That's
And
key
then
right there.
that's so key. That's so key because you have to have that real estate now. It's 2019. So many people are connecting with us digitally. And even today, like Bankroll Summit, I still see it. Bankroll Summit gets followers every day. And I'm not doing any new posting or marketing or anything else like that. But once we had the digital real estate, so we bought the domain and the social media hashtags, not social media hashtags, social media handles, then we started focusing on the physical aspect. So getting the venue locked in for the specific date that we wanted, and then finding the contact information for all the colleges that we wanted to personally invite and partner with. So
Okay.
those are like the foundational steps.
Okay. I think that makes sense. It's like, I think sometimes maybe we want to skip some of those steps in the beginning, kind of just get jumped into whatever this project is going to be. But you're right. There's some very key things you need to lock down because you don't want to end up being bank_roll_summit 2018 or something like that. You don't want to be stuck with something that no one's going to be able to find.
Exactly. And that, that's a big thing when it comes to just branding an event or branding your organization. Like you really want to make sure that you own that space across the digital space, no matter what social media platform it's on. Even though we weren't super active on Twitter, we got the Twitter handle and everywhere else, and I think that's definitely important.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. One thing I noticed about your summit is that you got a chance to work with a lot of great people. You had some amazing people that were on, I guess you call it the schedule, who were speaking at the event. How did you go about proposing this idea to them? How did you get them to buy in on it? What was the process of building out your speaker roster?
I think the speaker roster might have been the easiest part.
Mm.
Maybe it's because I'm a speaker. I won't even say maybe. Because I'm a speaker, I've had experience organizing other events because we've been doing events for no money since September of 2014. So I've been putting together panels and speakers and different things like that because although this is my nonprofit organization and, I have a heart for this work, I don't want my voice to be the only voice that the students and young people hear in regards to what they can do to create a better situation for themselves in personal finance. And so I knew when I started it that I was going to have Jennifer Jackson from Adult 101 or ADLT 101 speak. And then I was just trying to figure out who are the people that I see connect to the audience that I want to serve. I really looked for speakers who were speakers of color who could relate to the Black college students that we were bringing in and having as attendees. Every single one of our speakers, they were down to earth. They met the college students where they were in regards to how much financial information they had at the time. And I feel like Q&A is the most valuable part, but that's how I chose my speakers. And then when it came to the entrepreneur fireside chat that we had kind of after the speakers had done, the first entrepreneur that I selected, I wanted to make sure that it was someone who was in college and building a business. And he goes to Clemson University and he had just pitched Shark Tank. Like he had just flown out to California to pitch Shark Tank on his new startup, which is a sustainable kind of cutlery business. So, those forks, knives, spoons that you usually get like at a restaurant where you're getting to-go food. So his is all biodegradable and recyclable. So I think that he's getting a lot of interest because of kind of his conscious way of building the company. And then the second entrepreneur, I wanted to have someone who could talk to the audience who built a business while they're in college and then saw continued success when they left. He graduated from college in 2 years while also building a business that was making $30,000 a month. It was a t-shirt business. So now he's running an ad and marketing agency. His name is Abu Fofana. And I don't think there's anyone better to speak to the students because not only his story of being a refugee and him and his family getting here, but also just the initial thought that the only way that he was going to be able to get the money that he wanted to make was to become an athlete or go into entertainment until he met a Black doctor and a Black lawyer. And that changed his whole situation. And so I think just having the students meet these speakers and the entrepreneurs, it makes things real for them. That was why it was important for me to pick the speakers that I picked, and definitely the entrepreneurs that came down here and shared with our students too.
Yeah, no, representation is huge, and
Huge.
it makes such a big difference to see someone who you can relate with, who looks like you, doing something that maybe you didn't even know was possible. And I think it makes it that much real. So I think that's really cool how you built that panel of speakers out there. And it seems like people were really impacted by the event. But for you, as you know, one of the people putting all this together, what was one of the most difficult things that you ended up finding out as you went through this process?
Um, I think the most difficult thing was the money, because I made a budget. Then realized, like, oh, we actually are going to save a good bit of money on this budget. And then the expenses just started rolling in, like
Mm.
$1,400 for this, $1,600 for this, $2,500 for this. Oh, that doesn't include the food, so it's an extra $3,200. So, just seeing the numbers continue to roll in, I think that might have been my biggest hurdle, because being a first year event, well, it was a factor of two things. Not only were we a first year event, but as I told you, we had the idea in December and we were having the event in April. So a lot of people who were building their budgets to say, oh, I'm going to support this nonprofit or this event, they had already made those plans. And when I was reaching out to organizations and sponsors and possible community partners, a lot of them had given me that feedback, like, hey, we love what you're doing. You're serving the target market that we want to, but we just don't have the money left right now because it's allocated to other events. And so I had to make a real investment personally, like just taking some money out of the bank account and just emptying it into Bankroll Summit at one point, just so that, the party kept going. And as I was doing that, I started to find more sponsors that, believed in the idea, wanted to see it come to fruition, like the Plutus Foundation. They were one of our first sponsors that signed on to help us provide the Bankroll Summit to a sophomore student from South Carolina State University that we're awarding. And so the money was definitely the hardest part, but I can already tell it's the easiest part for next year, because people are asking me, like, how can they support? How can they become, a sponsor? Someone asked me about a title sponsorship. A few cities and states asked me if I was interested in traveling with the summit. So I knew that once we pulled it off, once the summit did what we said it was going to do and really impact students and completed the mission and made sure it was something that was going to keep going, that things were going to get easier. And so I made an investment into the idea and just everything that we were doing, just to make sure, hey, we're going to keep this thing going. But yeah, that's one thing I'll say, like, for people who are doing first time events, the supporters and the sponsors, even though you may align with someone, they don't want to be the first person on the dance floor oftentimes. And so they might want to see, well, are you going to pull it off? And if you do, let's see about that dance next year. But I think that was a quick and early lesson to learn, and so I wasn't even put off by it. I respected and kept it moving.
That's something good to think about too. 'Cause you're right; they want to make sure that the money they're putting in is going to actually go towards what you say it is, and now you have proof that actually is going to be a thing. And so, I think that's really cool. That's something that turned it out, or that started out as like something like a difficulty or a struggle, ended up being now something that's a strong point for you for the summit and things going forward. So, the last question I want to leave you with here is: are we going to see another Bankroll Summit?
Yes, you will see another Bankroll Summit on April 2nd, 2020. We already have the date locked in. The venue that we had it this year actually asked us if we would come back next year.
Oh, nice.
So we're looking at that venue and also exploring some others. So Bankroll Summit is definitely rolling. There's Bankroll Summit 2020 kicking off Financial Literacy Month in 2020 on April 2nd, Thursday, April 2nd. It's still a little surreal to me, just because I see people in like Bankroll Summit shirts, and people will send me pictures like, hey, do you know this person? I'm like, no, I don't. But that makes me feel even better, because now the vision has grown to the point where I don't know the people who it's touched. Seeing how the organization has grown, like no money has grown from starting it 5 years ago, and even building out a summit that's affecting hundreds of college students across the Southeast. I never imagined this. So it's cool to see it all happen.
No, that's really cool. I'm really excited to see what it turns into next year. And you guys got a lot more time this time around than than the first one to get ready.
Yeah, I'm definitely putting all sponsors on alert, all community partners on alert. Like, hey, we're gearing up. So come on, let's jump in this wagon and make it happen.
And Steve, if people want to kind of follow along with what's going on with the Bankroll Summit, kind of see how next year's going to turn out, maybe attend Bankroll Summit, where's the best place for them to go to learn about that?
Yeah, so we're really active on Instagram. So they can go to Bankroll Summit at Bankroll Summit on Instagram. They can also follow our nonprofit page, No Money, and that's KNOWMONEYINC. And then my personal page on Instagram is No Money Steve, KNOWMONEYSTEVE. And those are the same social media handles across all platforms. As I said before, like had to lock them up. So I'm No Money Steve across all platforms. Our organization is No Money Inc. across all platforms. And you could definitely find Bankroll Summit on Facebook for the recap as well. We've a huge gallery and video recap on Facebook. So they can go to our Facebook page as well.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure we put all that in the show notes. That way people can go check you out and join in on what you guys are doing. So, hey, Steve, again, I appreciate your time. I really respect and enjoy seeing what you're building over there. And look forward to many more years of the Bankroll Summit to come.
I appreciate all the digital support, and I'll see you in DC.
I appreciate you all for coming back and joining us again. And big thanks to Stephen Hughes for coming on and sharing a little bit about his story. Coming up this Friday, we have Tiffany Aliche, aka the Budgetnista. So make sure you're subscribed, that way you can catch that episode and all the other ones that are to come, because we'll be coming to you every Wednesday with some amazing guests here on the Plutus Awards podcast. And remember, you can learn more about our guests and the Plutus Awards podcast at plutusawards.com/podcast and on Instagram at Plutus Awards. And before I get out of here, I just wanted to say one more time, thanks for joining us and keep creating.
And I'll see you in DC.
Oh, yeah, I'll see you there.
All right.
I guess I'll be sweating. I'll see you over there.
It should be cooler by then. Trust me. We be up north. Everything's going to be all right.
I know what I'm being lied to, so we'll see.